Hey everyone, Tina Hogan Grant here. It's a Monday afternoon here in California, and I'm doing my Cuppa A Natter that I like to do twice a month. And I invite authors into my home, and we talk about books, writing, life as an author, and whatever comes to mind. And tonight, Katie Mettner is joining me from Wisconsin. How are you, my dear?
I am good. Thanks for having me.
I'm super excited to talk to you about your books, which you have written a lot of, by the way, which we will discuss. But before we get into your books and your writing, can you just give us a little background to Katie? You're from Wisconsin, but
Yes.
anything that you want to add to that you feel safe and don't mind putting it out there?
I I don't have any secrets. Let's put it
Your
that
life
way.
is an open book,
It
right?
is an open book. That's what I always say. You can ask me anything. I won't always answer it, but you can ask me. Let's see. Well, like you said, I'm from Wisconsin. I've lived in Wisconsin my entire life. I grew up in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. You might be familiar with Bon Iver. The lead singer of Bon Iver is from Eau Claire, so there's
Oh,
your
okay.
six
Okay.
degrees of separation there.
Yeah.
I now live north of Eau Claire near Lake Superior. My husband is a teacher here, and his family actually lives in Cloquet, Minnesota, and my brother lives in Duluth, Minnesota. So we're a little bit closer to
All,
them.
all in
Uh,
the neighborhood.
yeah, so we get to see the lake a lot. I can't wait to. I'm going Friday, so I'm really
Do you
excited about
kayak?
that.
Do you
Huh?
kayak? Do you kayak?
Oh no, no, it's I used to, but now with one leg, it's too hard to get in and out, even with a prosthesis, to get in and out of a kayak. So I don't do that anymore. Mostly, I just end up in the drink. So it just doesn't work out. I have three kids, and well, they're actually adults now, which is kind of frightening to say. I have a 21-year-old who is studying to be a teacher, like her father, her grandfather, and her uncle. I have a 19-year-old who is studying to be a funeral director, so he'll be done with that next year and has an apprenticeship down in the Milwaukee area. And then I have my 17-year-old who just finished his freshman year at UW-Madison for physics.
Wow.
So yeah, so we're enjoying having him home for the summer, and he'll go back in September, and then we'll be empty nesters for the first time. So that'll be weird, but
That's going to be weird. That's
yeah,
going to
very weird.
also nice at the same time.
Yeah, I'll get a lot of writing done.
Yes. And all your children stay close by? Are they
So
little?
far, my daughter's in Eau Claire going to school, and then my son is in Madison, and my other one is in Milwaukee. And Milwaukee and Madison are just like within 45 minutes of each other.
Oh, that's
So
great then. That's
yeah,
great.
so they're all in the state at least.
Excellent. I do want to say hi. We've got a few people joining us. I just want to scroll down. I'm with Katie Mettner, and we're going to be talking about her books. And if you have any questions for her, go ahead and put them in the comments. And we will try and get to as many as we can. And like I said, Kate, if you see one that you want to answer and I might have missed, just interrupt me and say, "Hey, we got
Yeah.
this over there." But Karen Wright is here, Peggy Patterson, Tina Rose, Sherry Steuben, Virgie Lane, Karen Geerling, April Willis, Robin Browning. Hi, everybody. Michelle Anderson, Holly Cameron. I'm so Anne-Marie Quiet, Barbara Miller, Virgie Lane. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. So, Katie, I was
Yes,
looking at your bio before we went live, and you, my dear, have written a lot of books.
I have written a lot of books.
How many books have you written?
I have actually written, completed 57. I am publishing the 50th in November.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
What an
It's been quite
achievement.
the journey.
And when did you start your writing career?
I wrote my first book in 2011 after I had my leg amputated because I was sitting there with nothing to do. And I was like, well, it's time to write this story that I've been, floating around in my head for years. It ended up being 400 pages. So that was fun. And I thought, well,
Oh,
there's,
wow,
it
that's one heck of a first book.
really was. I thought, well, it was like going to be my only book. So I had to get it all in there.
Don't we all say
Uh,
that? It's only
right?
one book.
Yeah.
I'm gonna write one book.
One book. That's it. I had no idea at the time what I was doing. Um, is so far as that I didn't know anything about self-publishing or anything. I really had only written it for my friends and family to read. Um, and then I had accidentally published it on Amazon because I didn't I didn't know that. I just thought, okay, I could get an ebook and I could get paperbacks. Yeah, but I didn't like actually read the fine print, and I published it. And so people were buying it. I'm completely clueless. I have no idea what's going on. I had the worst cover in the world. Shout out to Carrie Butler right now, who is on here somewhere. I saw her.
Okay.
Who does all my covers. Beautiful.
Oh, really?
Yes, I don't even have to say anything anymore. I just go cowboy, sexy, and it's done.
And she knows exactly what
She
you
knows
want.
exactly what I want. I don't even have to,
That makes life easier.
yeah. So and she'll be like,
And probably the first time she shows you a cover, it's perfect.
Absolutely. The Cowboy series, no revisions. It was just like, send it to me. We're that in sync now. It's just like, hey, can you make this logo? And I want it to look like this. And she'll send it back. And I'm like,
so how many covers has she done for you?
We'll be 50 in November.
So she's done all your covers.
Yep. I did a lot of my first early ones were, ones that I did myself, which PS, if you're an author, don't do that.
No.
Yeah, no. I didn't know that either at the time.
I wouldn't even know where to begin.
Right. Me either, as you could tell by some of my early covers. So finally Carrie was like, let me help you, girl. And so we slowly have worked backwards, and now we have all of them done. And of course, all going forward.
They're all gorgeous.
Yeah, she's excellent at branding. She can, she knows exactly, like I said, what I want. It can be difficult for my books because I write all my main characters have a disability, either the hero or the heroine. So it's very hard to sometimes find positions of couples and things like that work. So she's very good at understanding, hey, this couple is going to have to be sitting down because it's the only way we can make it work. And,
okay.
So yeah, she's excellent at that, and I don't have to really explain it to her anymore. She just knows, oh, okay, this is what we have to do. So, and that's why my cowboys, here's one of my sexy hot cowboys, it's just the cowboy, because with the different disabilities, we couldn't find anything that had cowboys and a cowgirl that worked. So we're like, we're just going to go with the sexy cowboy, because who doesn't love a sexy cowboy on a book cover?
Perfect.
So there we are.
I don't want to get too personal, but you said that all your books, the character, the main character, one of the characters has a disability.
Correct.
Can I ask if that is because of your leg? Is that what started that?
Right. When I started writing, like I said, it was right after my amputation in 2011. And I had made the main character in that story was an amputee. I didn't think anything of it, right? I've just grown up that whole, with my life. That's just what it was. I didn't think that was abnormal in any way until I published it and found out that that's very unusual to have a main character with a disability, but not just where the disability is just part of their life, not the whole story, or, the poor pitiful Pearl of the storyline. And so when Sugar's Dance got accidentally published, I started getting emails. Yeah, I know. I was so naive. I did not know what I was doing. I admit it. But I started getting emails from people going, one, we need more sugar. And I'm thinking, you got 400 pages. Like, how much more do you need? Apparently 3 more books, because there's 4 books in that series. But I digress. But they were telling me like how unusual it was to find a main character with a disability that was not just disabled, but accurate. And I thought, well, why on earth would somebody write a book that wasn't accurate? Like, yes. And then me before you comes out, and I'm like, well, here we go, So then I suddenly understood what they meant by it being accurate. And so and they would send me emails saying, hey, I have XYZ. Can you write my story? Can you write somebody with this disability or this chronic condition? And it became almost like I was just driven to just keep writing them as people would come to me, because I thought, oh, that's really good. I can do that with that, and to push the line a little bit with and this was 10 years ago too. So, you have to remember times have changed, but to push that line with what people will accept in novels and how far they'll let you go with, how do I want to say it? How accurate you make the book. And I guess what I'm saying is I don't shy away from any life subject in a book, whether it's, transportation, whether it's sex, whether it's how you eat, whether it's anything. I don't shy away from that, because if I want to make it accurate and realistic, and not in a gross way, obviously, but
Right, of course.
if I'm representing a disability and the people of the disability community that have that specific condition, I better do it right, or as right as I can do it.
Right, you want it to be real.
Within reason, right?
As real as possible.
Right. And so that was kind of my challenge that I set for myself, was make it accurate, but make it something somebody wants to read. Perfect. And so that's always where I come from before I start a book. Is this going to be something somebody wants to read, and am I going to be able to do it justice and do it right? And if I say no, then I back right away. I don't do it. Yep.
Back away. I think it's great. I think it's wonderful. The Cowboy series, that's your latest series, correct?
Yes, correct.
And how many books in that series?
There's 4 in the series.
And is there going to be any more?
Not at this time.
Okay. Let's see that cover again. Now which one is this again?
This is Blazing Hot Nights. So this is the first book. This is about Blaze McCauley and Heaven Lane, who is his neighbor on Bison Ridge. I should probably explain this series.
Yes.
When I wrote it, I originally just wrote Blazing Hot Nights, and it was because I was mad at Harlequin. I had sent Harlequin. I had sent him a novel for for the Desire line, and it was perfect for their line, but they went, we don't take a lot of first person, which is true, they don't. And they said, but if you've got any cowboy books, we'd love to see one of your cowboy books. Well, I don't have any Texas cowboy books. I don't live in Texas. I've never been there. I don't know anything about Texas, but you know what I know about? Bison. That's right. I live 20 miles from a bison farm. So let's right. Yes.
I like how you combine the two.
Right. So I have my Texas Cowboys, bison, or ranching bison in Wisconsin, because what doesn't make total sense about that, right? It was supposed to be one book, and then of course Blaze's brother Bo was like, well, he's got to have his story.
That's how
and then they just kind of spiral on you. Then I wrote the one about Tex, which is the excerpt I'll be reading tonight. Well, everybody wanted to know what was up with Tex. Why does he go by Tex? What's his story? So that's how this whole series came about. And it's I like to preface it by saying it's a grief series. It's about grief. It's about past, in this one, Blaze is a widower at 30, 25 actually, when his wife died. So there's an element to grief, but it's also about healing and kind of taking that second chance when it comes along. And no, there was not supposed to be 4. But then after I wrote the third one, I was like, well, okay. So now the sheriff and the cowgirl got together, and they're mad at each other. And now everybody wants to know why they have a love-hate relationship. So one more. And I really had always wanted to release one for Christmas in July, in the romance field, I guess, so to say. Christmas in July is huge, and I've never had one that I could actually release that wasn't part of another series that people weren't expecting at a certain time of year. And so this was perfect. So His Christmas Star is releasing July 5th to be part of the Christmas in July festivities that always occur.
Perfect. And the book 4 is on pre-order, correct?
Yes, that is on pre-order. This series is wide, so you can get it on any platform, not just Amazon. A lot of my series are in Kindle Unlimited, but I have a few that aren't, that are wide.
And what was the title of the last book again?
His Christmas Star.
His Christmas Star. And when is that available?
That will release July 5th.
Congratulations. That's just around the corner. Right?
Yep, just around the corner. Yep.
Was there a reason why you made it July 5th? I mean, do you have a special day or date that you release your book? So it's just... That's your deadline to get it ready.
I try to release them on Tuesdays. I kind of couldn't decide if I wanted to do it on July 5th, because I know, it's the holiday weekend, and it's probably not going to have that great of a release. But at the same time, if I wait too long, then I've missed a lot of the Christmas in July stuff as
Right.
far as
Yeah.
events and things that I could be part of. So I was like, well, I'm just going to do it and people will catch up. You know, it's the fourth book in the series, so I'm less worried about it than if it was the first book in the series.
You didn't say the last. You just said the fourth. Uh-huh.
Never say never.
Never say never.
That's the way I go.
And why do they say that Tuesday's the day to launch a book in Amazon? I've heard that from so many authors that
Well,
Tuesday's
it has to do with the bestseller list.
Okay.
Which of course I'll never make, so I never really have to worry about it.
Oh,
but
never say never. Never
Okay.
say never.
Never say never. Okay, I'm sorry. Carrie Butler right now is saying the same thing, but which will take me a long time to make, but it's just kind of a habit now that I do. As I always know Tuesday release, and then I have the week to get books out to people and things like that. And I like to do parties for book release. So if I have the party on a Tuesday, I can leave the posts open and still get stuff out, before the weekend and stuff like that. So
yeah. And speaking of parties, you're having one tomorrow, June 14th, on your author page.
Correct.
And that is for the release of the box set, correct?
Yes, the Bison Ridge box set on Kindle. Well, actually, it's on all the platforms. It's mostly, there are box set readers out there that just really like to get 3 at a time, or as many in a box set as they can instead of buying each book individually. So I like to put them out when I have them. And also, I just wanted a reason to have a party. So
why not? Why not?
So we have a box set.
Yeah, I'm happy to be a part of it. I'll be giving a book away, so congratulations on that.
Yes, and I appreciate that.
Oh, yeah, and I'm looking forward to having you in my party on the 22nd.
I will be there. I've got my birthday books all picked out because I'm sticking with the birthday theme. So
I know, unlike the St. Patrick's Day one that
I got that and I was reading it going, either I'm confused or she's confused.
That just happened when you do copy and paste and you don't read the whole thing. Because I just wanted, the guidelines in there. Right at the bottom was, what kind of party it was. Okay, I need to change that one.
I chuckled.
Yeah, I did too. And I read it after I sent it. Didn't help.
No.
I do want to just take a little pause and see if we have any questions for you. I did see a good one from Karen Wright, if I can find it. Oh, I gotta keep scrolling. I think it was, okay, I remember it. If I find it, I'll pop it up so you can see her name. She was asking, you've written 50 books. Where do you come up with all your character names?
Oh, boy.
That's a lot of names where you can't, because when you write a few books, okay, I already had that name in book 2. I had that name in book 3. So how do you come up with all these different names? Here we go. Here it is.
Well, 57 books is a lot of names. Luckily, if it's a series and I pick names in the first book, I can just carry them over. So that helps. But I'm getting to the point now where I go to like name generators because if I try to just pick a name, it's like, oh, I use that in April Melody, or oh, I use that in,
Right.
So sometimes I'll just go and just get a random one. Sometimes it's I go to Facebook and I click on and I just look at a list of names on the side and go, oh, yep, haven't used that one. Great.
Oh, there you go. Do you have a list of names you've used?
If I was a more organized author, I would have that.
I think I would have by now.
But luckily, I'm still to the point where I can still mostly remember it. Sometimes I did screw up one time. I will admit this one. This is the only time that I've actually messed up, and it's in the Bell's Pass series, which is I'm gonna release the 6th book in November. And in the first book, I talk about the cook named Isaac and the lawyer named Lance. And in the 5th book, the cook was named Lance. Oops. And now I'm writing the 6th book, which is about Lance. But it was really supposed to be Isaac. I managed to make it work. But that was the only time that I went, oh, I should have checked that one better. I usually do go back to the first one and make sure that I've in a series that long to make sure that I haven't done any of that. But no, I did not do that last year. And
it's easy to me. Like I like you. I'm writing a series, and I, have all these characters that come in the same books, repetitive characters. It's about them. So I actually keep a spreadsheet of who likes coffee, who likes this, who's self-centered, who likes pink. And I have a spreadsheet, and then when they're in a restaurant, I'm like, okay, now how does Jill like her coffee again? Or how does so-and-so?
Exactly, yes.
The spreadsheet really helps.
long, and I do that to a point with long series, but then I don't save it like a dummy. I don't.
Oh,
Yeah, like even if I saved each one of those, then I could say like, have I used that name and go back and check. But I I don't. The only good part about it is I have enough series that even if I do repeat a name somewhere, it's very rare that people would
very
even
rare.
notice it, because if you have enough books, it's just
Yeah, and it's bound to happen sometime. I'm sure I would do it too. I mean, when I was writing 2 books at once, which I'd never do, 2 different series, I had one person who they crossed. The characters were in the wrong series, and I didn't know it was like 3 chapters. They're like, why is she in this book? She's supposed to be in the other book.
At least you can search, find, and replace at
I
least.
know, right? So I stopped doing that. When it comes to your writing, do you plot your books out, or do you just sit down and let it unfold while you're writing?
It'd be great if I could plot things out. I cannot do it. If I try to plot too much, then it just ties me up in my mind, and I can never make anything flow. So what I usually do, I should say that I'm actually releasing a series with Harlequin, or I'm sorry, first book with Harlequin this coming February. So what I usually do is, if I'm writing a romantic suspense like that, where I have to solve a mystery or I have to get to a certain point, I'll write like the first 3 chapters. I'll get a feel for the characters, and then I'll take a pause on it and say, okay, how are you going to get from where you are right now to where you need to be? And then I'll kind of jot out. I've been known to write up on the title page, do this, and then she does that, and then you go there, and then, because I need to just have that fast look at it without looking around for documents and stuff. But other than that, I really don't. If I'm writing a contemporary romance, I don't at all. I don't plot it all at all, because the story will just tell itself if I let it.
And I feel if you try and force something on the characters, it doesn't seem real.
Never works. Never works. It's just, it ties. I've written myself into so many corners doing that, and I've learned to just say, okay, this is where they want to go, so let's go there, and we'll see what happens. And it always works out.
There's some questions about your writing, so I want to bring some of these up because we're talking about it. Here's one from Diane. She's asking, do you dream about your characters?
Unfortunately, I do. If only I could remember.
No good thing.
well, it's a good thing if I could remember like what they wanted to say, But then I'll wake up and be like, okay, well, they were in the book or they were in the dream, but what were they trying to tell me? And it's usually always if I'm struggling and I'm trying to figure out, where I want them to go, or how I'm trying to end a book or something like that, that I'll, that they'll pop up. But it's more daydreaming, honestly, than night dreaming, to be honest, when it comes to the characters, because that's usually when I hear them the loudest. Thank God for phones where you can type things out, in the middle of making dinner and you need to make yourself a note about something. So
that helps. It does, thank God. And then here's another one for you from, come on, pop up. There we go. What determines what your stories will be about when you begin to start a new book?
Well, usually it's only the disability, and I'll always know if it's going to be the hero, if it's going to be the male or the female that has the disability, and if it's going to be romantic suspense or contemporary romance. So if it's going to be romantic suspense or like an intrigue type mystery, obviously I need to know what that's going to be.
Right.
But really, I don't. Here's for an example.
Mm-hmm.
A Christmas at Gingerbread Falls.
Okay.
This book was supposed to be a 2,500 word little story for the library.
It's a full book.
It is now. And I had no idea when I started it. It starts out, it was actually based off like a cheesy Hallmark Christmas movie. And it starts, example, she's hanging, strands of tinsel on the brightly lit Christmas tree. And it goes on describing how she's decorating her cafe. And you get 2,500 words in, and the director yells cut, and then you meet the 2 characters that are playing.
Okay.
And so sometimes you just get, I wrote the 2,500 words for the library, but then was like, well, now I have to finish it.
Now you got to finish it.
And when I started writing those first 4 words, I had no idea where it was going. But like I said, if you let the characters talk and you just let them do their thing, they'll always tell the story.
And for me, I'm also feel the same way. But for me, the hardest part is getting that first paragraph down. The very
Yep.
first paragraph of the book seems to, for me, to be the hardest. But once I get that down, I now know the direction of where the characters are taking me, kind of.
Kind of.
And then it kind of unfolds from
And
there.
sometimes I rewrite that first paragraph about 10 times, but we get there eventually.
I probably read about a few pages more. But at least I get the rough draft down, and that's what I want. And then I can go back and clean it up, and then, oh, you meant to say that, not that. They kind of
Right.
change their mind a little bit. I got a few more questions for you regarding your writing that I want to just get in here. This one is from Vicky. Do you know the ending of the book when you start writing it?
Absolutely not.
I love that.
Like I said, unless it's an intrigue or a mystery and I know exactly who the bad guy is, I just let it go and I just write it and then I go, ta-da!
Oh, wow.
It works.
And as regarding you always write series or you have standalones?
I do have some standalones. Yep. I tend to find though that I've kind of become a series writer. That's what people expect from me now. Just because I think I have like 11 different series. And my standalones don't do as well simply for that reason. I think is that people are
they
like,
know you as a series and they're expecting series.
Yeah. Or it's like, well, it's going to be a one and done and we want more. So, instead of reading the one and done, I'm going to start this series or whatever it may be. So,
and as far as your series goes, have you ever had the characters cross over into another series?
Yes, I have several of those. I have the Sugar series, Grant from Granted Redemption is in the Sugar series. He was Sugar's physical therapist, so he did a spinoff on the Northern Lights series. And then the Snowberry series, somebody here mentioned Calling Cupid. I just saw who it was. I think it was Crystal. Was a spinoff from the Snowberry series, was the Calling Cupid series or the Cupid's Cove series. And so I do that a lot where it's like, oh, I don't want this to end, but yet I kind of need to move it somewhere else. And so I'll do it that way. So I do have a lot of those. And I think those series do very well because it's like, oh, well, it's not quite over yet. I can still go over here and characters again, so.
And do you mention that before, when the book's coming out, that it's a crossover, or it's just a surprise for the reader if they've read the other books?
I do, generally speaking, if it's like the Sugar series with Grant or the Snowberry series with Kate Cupid, because it's a direct spinoff. And so I want people to know that if, hey, you really like the series, these same characters you met in that series are going to be in this next one. So, it's just a way to keep them abreast, I guess, of knowing where their characters are going.
And for those that haven't read the other series, it might get them to read the other one too. So
exactly. Or they might pick up, maybe they picked up and read the Northern Lights series without realizing that was a spinoff from the Sugar series, and then they'll go back and read the Sugar series. So.
Right, perfect. We have a question here, still on writing. Tina Rose wants to know, how long does it take you to write a book, or how many chapters do you do in a day? I'm assuming you write every day. It's your full-time job at 57 books. Correct?
I do write every day. That's kind of my motto is write something every day. I don't care if you write a paragraph on a napkin, write something every day, or edit. Oftentimes I'm editing. Right. I can write a book in a week. Or I can write a book in 3 weeks.
In 1 week?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
I wrote the Harlequin intrigue that they just accepted for publication in 2023. I wrote that in 5 days when I was taking my son to college down in Madison, because when I'm like in a zone of my life where I like to be able to escape from it, like sending your 16-year-old child to a Big Ten school, I disappear into that world for, to just get that peace for a little while. And so I did manage to write that book in 5 days. Now, it took a lot of revision and a lot of rewriting before I submitted it, obviously.
To get the bones of a book in 5 days is incredible.
Sometimes I do it to challenge myself. I wrote a book.
I'm chuffed I get 1,000 words down a day.
And sometimes that's all I get. Today I got this many words down. I will get some tonight because, like I said, it's my rule. I always write something. But it just really depends on where I'm at with the story. And if it's just straight contemporary romance, or if there's a mystery, because if there's a mystery, sometimes, you got to slow down a little bit or you write yourself into a corner. So
Yeah,
I've learned that, sometimes it's better to write 3,000 words than say 8,000 words, and then you have to delete 3,000 of them. So
exactly. I agree with you 100% on that.
Yeah. Is there going to be another book to go along with the Karen, I really wish there was. I actually have had people said to me, we need a Christmas at Gingerbread Falls 2. And I tossed it around. Then I was like, how? Because the end of the book, they're going back to film A Christmas at Gingerbread Falls 2, but what's left? So I'm still thinking on that one. We'll see. Maybe in another year or so I can come up with something.
Here's one from Robin. She wants to know, which one of your books, or 2 or 3, would you like to see made into a movie?
That one's a tough one. I would have to say Christmas at Gingerbread Falls.
Yeah.
Because it's just perfect for a movie. If not that one, but it's tough because of the disability aspect. It can be very, very difficult. Right. Obviously, I would have a real issue if they weren't casting disabled characters for a movie about disabled people. But the Sugar series would be fantastic. But it's so long that it's such a long series. The other book that I can think of off the top of my head would be Inherited Love, which is actually about a woman who inherits her grandma's Saint Bernard, and ends up meeting his veterinarian, who she ends up falling in love with. And it would be perfect because her disability, she has Crohn's disease, and so she uses a feeding tube. So it's kind of a hidden disability. Okay. But she's also a musical genius. So you have, all these, you've got, it's a perfect storyline for what everybody loves. You got music, you've got dogs, you've got, yeah. So that would be a good one too, I think.
Wow. Okay, we're going to pause, and I'm going to read a description from one of your books, and you are going to give us a treat with a live read, correct?
You got it.
All right, let me bring this up. I'm sorry. You're going to have to remind me on the title, babe. I have
It's Due North.
Due North, and that is
book 3
of the Cowboy series.
Correct.
Okay, I'm going to read the description, then I'll hand it over to you, and I think you're going to read the prologue?
Yes.
Fantastic. Okay, Caleb texts. I have my glasses on. Let's start again. Caleb texts North, keeps his cards close to his vest as Heavenly Lane Dude Ranch, acting like a happy-go-lucky Texas cowboy. Easier than being the vulnerable, broken man he faces in the mirror every morning. Cecilia Douglas is in trouble. Her problem could end her career at Heavenly Lane Dude Ranch. But out of choices, she has to trust the one cowboy who could heal her heart or break it. Caleb and Cecilia are both swimming through blue waves of grief, pain, and misunderstandings that leave them aching to connect with each other. When one of their own is in danger, can they put their past aside to save their future? Ooh. Okay. And
I have to show this cover because Carrie Butler absolutely nailed this cover. I have waited 10 years to get a cover with the Northern Lights on it, and she brings it out for Due North, and it was just perfect. To say I did not argue when she handed
No, I would not either. That's perfect. All right, my dear, all yours.
All right, here we go. This is the prologue of Due North. And also keep in mind that the prologue is about 8-9 years before present day.
Okay.
The darkness was oppressive. It weighed every step with the prophecy of failure. The prophecy told me to sit down and give up. I couldn't do that. I had to keep going. That's what they'd want me to do. I kept my eyes peeled for predators of the 2- or 4-legged variety as I trudged along the empty highway. Whoever said time flies was wrong. When you're a 19-year-old kid wearing all your belongings on your back, time is endless. You feel the seconds in the beat of your heart and the minutes in the weight of the pack on your shoulders. The blisters on your feet tell of the hours that have passed. The sweat on your brow reminds you that your body is nearing its breaking point. In my experience, time is also what proves you must go on. No one ever said life would be easy, Caleb. My mother repeated that sentence at least once a week for the first 15 years of my life. She always followed it up with, but it'll be worth it. I didn't believe for one damn second that any of this heartache and pain was worth it. Useless words were all she ever gave me. Well, that and a whole lot of heartache. I kicked the toe of my boot forward, making gravel skitter across the pavement. It was ominous in the face of my situation. I shifted the backpack across my sore shoulders with determination. I had to get the hell out of North Dakota and the ghosts that haunted me here. Who was I kidding? Those ghosts would follow me down this dusty highway forever and always. Part of me took comfort in that. Part of me railed against it. Part of me accepted it as my punishment. I noticed lights ahead and brought my feet to a stop in the gravel. Lifting the map I printed off 4 days ago before I left home. Had it only been 4 days? From my pack, I flicked my light over it. My gaze traveled to the scratched and dinged Timex on my wrist where the hour hand had ticked past midnight. Make that 5 days ago. My feet told me it had been an eternity. I dropped the map to my side with a sigh of relief. Those lights had to be the P&T truck plaza and cafe. It was a place to shower, grab a bite to eat, close my eyes in a booth for a few minutes without the pack on my back, and if I was lucky, find a ride out of this hell. The view of civilization gave me a burst of energy. Determination pushed me forward until I stood in the busy plaza in less than 5 minutes. The hubbub was what I needed to settle my nerves. Being out on the highway alone in North Dakota was dangerous, especially when you didn't have a gun or way to defend yourself from the animals that lurked in the night. Here, the lights were bright, the scent of comfort food from the cafe was calming, and the din of people talking and laughing reminded me that I was no longer alone. Not exactly true. I was alone, but at least for a few minutes tonight I could pretend like I wasn't. Evening, son. I glanced up, realizing I'd been standing in the doorway for too long. I stepped to the side and stared at the grizzled older man in front of me. He was thin, had wispy white hair over a bald plate on his head, and smelled of sweet tobacco. Hi, I croaked. I cleared my throat, remembering that I hadn't spoken much over the last 5 days of walking along a dusty road. You look like you could use a place to sit down, not to mention a hot meal. I took another step to the side, but nodded while I did it. I'm just passing through. The man laughed, and the sound was that of cigarettes smoked one after the other and thermoses of coffee to stay awake. Aren't we all, Tex? Aren't we all? Where are you headed? Home, I said, shifting the pack off one shoulder. Just stopped in for a shower and something to eat. You picked the right place then. The showers are hot and the food is too. Miss Martha makes the best hot beef and gravy in 3 states. My stomach growled at the mere thought of a hot meal, and he grinned, but his eyes held a knowing gleam. He stuck his hand out toward me. I'm Pops. At least that's what the young whippersnappers call me on the radio. I shook his hand firmly because when a man extends his hand to you, you shake it. Nice to meet you, Pops. You been driving long? I asked, motioning to the big rigs outside the door as he led me toward the small cafe. Almost 30 years, Tex. You see a lot of life in 30 years of driving that pavement. I can see we both need a hot meal before we get back on the road. It has been a few days since I had a hot meal, I admitted, sliding over a stool at the counter. A young woman, probably my age if she was a day, slid cups of coffee in front of us. The usual, Pops? I don't plan my route through this hellhole of a town for the fun of it, Angel. I plan my route through this hellhole of a town for Miss Martha's hot beef. Make it 1 for me and 2 for Tex over here. He needs the fuel. You got it, Pops, she said as she smiled shyly at me before spinning around and yelling through the open window at the cook beyond. Pop sipped his coffee, so I did the same, grateful for the caffeine that would help me put one foot in front of the other when we left here. When we're done eating, there'll be a shower open. After you're done cleaning up, we'll head up the highway. You can take a load off in the sleeper cab for a few hours. I lowered the cup and eyed him. His laughter filled the near-empty cafe. Ask anyone here. They'll tell you it's safe, son. I've got 16 boys like you back home. I hope if one of them ever needed help, someone would do the same. 16 boys? I asked. I've got 6 sons and 10 grandsons. Thank goodness we have those 3 darling granddaughters to keep us sane. This time it was my laughter that filled the cafe. I can't even imagine how busy your wife must have been raising 6 boys. He pointed a skinny tobacco-stained finger at me, and she did it by herself for the most part. I've given more than one young man a ride home over the last 30 years. You can ask Miss Martha. She'll tell you. I'd appreciate the ride then, Pops. My shoulders are sore from the pack. I could use a break. Angel set plates of food in front of us, filled to the brim with mashed potatoes and beef, with slices of toast that held the gravy back like a dam. Oh, Lordy, Miss Angel, this was worth the drive, Pops said on a yee-haw. You know it is every time, Pops. She gave him a wink before she grabbed 2 more plates from the window and headed for a booth in the back. So, where's home, Tex? Pop asked while he sipped at his coffee. What direction are you headed? Due north, son. Then that's where home is.
Love that. Thank you. Thank you so much.
So that's your introduction to Caleb Tex. Now you see how he got his nickname. North. And he's one of the last original cowboys of the Bison Ridge. So,
well, thank you so much for that read. I really enjoyed listening to that. That was wonderful. I want to put up some comments here from your read. We got one here from Crystal. She says, I love it. And then Janelle, awesome. Elaine Stott, loved it. We all loved your read. Thank you so much. Someone was asking, the questions go by so quick, but someone was asking, do you have a favorite character from all your 57 books? One that just sticks out.
You never should admit that as a writer, but I absolutely do, and it's Sugar. It has to be Sugar. If you've read the Sugar series, you understand why it's Sugar. If you haven't read the Sugar series, you should read it, and then you'll understand why it's Sugar. I think Sugar is every woman. She's, whether I have men that love the Sugar series, and they say it's like, I can picture her being my wife or my girlfriend or my mother or my sister. And I think it's just because she's so real and she's not afraid to be real in this world that can be, not ideal, I guess, so to say. So definitely, absolutely would be Sugar.
And you nailed that one. If someone's never read any of your books before, what would you recommend they start with? Because you have so many.
Yeah, I mean, usually they ask me that now, and I always say, well, do you like a little mystery or do you like just contemporary? If you like romantic suspense, I say start with Sugar. It's romantic suspense, but I think it's just a story that introduces everybody to my writing, realizing that was 10 years ago, and I've learned a lot since then, but it's also very real. It also introduces people to how I write disabled romance. If they like romantic suspense, 100%, I'm going to say, if not Sugar, I'm going to say Winter's Rain. I wrote Winter in 2015, and I still think about Winter every single day. And that's not a lie.
Really?
Yeah. Wow. That she is one of those characters that just will, and everybody says, well, you say Sugar is your favorite. Absolutely. But Winter is my second favorite, and don't fight me, I actually almost read the beginning of Winter's Rain tonight, but I decided we should focus on the Cowboys. So I didn't, but actually tomorrow I might, just because I love winter. I want everybody to read Winter's Rain. I will give you a free copy of Winter's Rain on ebook if you want to read it. It kind of got buried because it was the third book in the series. And so if you didn't keep going past Autumn's Reflection, then you didn't realize just what an amazing, and I'm not saying that just because I wrote it. It's the character that makes the book. Not just so much the book itself. It's just the character herself that makes
I want to backtrack. You said you would like everyone to read this book, and you would give everyone who wants to read a free ebook.
Yep. Send me a DM on my author page, and I'll get you an ebook. Yep.
Okay,
as long as you don't mind reading book 3 before you read book 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And you don't have to, because they're not interconnected that way. Yeah, they can be read as a standalone.
So if you want a free copy of the book, what was the title again? Sugar? No.
Winter's Rain.
Winter's Rain. Go ahead and DM Katie, and she will get that out to you. Thank you so much, Katie.
Yeah, you bet. That's the book that I wish everybody would read, because I think if more people read it, more people would understand not just what women go through, but also Winter is Native American and the things that she's gone through because she's Native American. So I think that it's a timely book, and it was a timely book in 2015, but it just never really, like I said, it got buried in the series. And so,
okay, well, we put it out there for you. And you said it can be read as a standalone. Does that mean for all your series?
No.
No. Okay.
No. I wrote the Sugar series has to be read in order.
Okay.
Granted, the Northern Lights series, you can read the first 2 as standalones, and then you can read Winter's Rain as a standalone. But if you read book 4, which is Forever Phoenix, you need to read book 3, because it's actually, you get Winter's point of view in book 3, but you get Phoenix's point of view, who's Winter's best friend, in book 4. But it's linear timelines. The same thing is happening, but you just get what's happening to Winter and how Phoenix is finding out all this stuff. So it's hard to explain, but yes, you would have to read them that way.
Okay. And I noticed when you're reading the prologue, it's written in first person. Are most of your books in first person, or you go, depends on
That one is in first person, or majority of my books are in first person. Christmas at Gingerbread Falls is in third person. Obviously, my book with intrigue next February will be in third person. I'm trying to think. I have another one.
Obviously,
Come on, Carrie, help me. Which one is it? I know there's.
But you prefer first person.
I have always written in first person because when you're writing about disabled characters, oftentimes you have to put yourself in their shoes, and not just the logistics of the emotions, but the logistics of how you move. If you're using a prosthesis, if you aren't using a prosthesis, but you're missing a hand, if you're in a wheelchair, but you're paralyzed, you have to be able to put yourself there and say, could a person really do that? Can I move that way? Can I move my hand and do that? And so I found that easier to do in third person. But I'm getting better, or I'm sorry, in first person, but I'm getting better at doing it in third person. So it's just, it takes practice.
Yeah, I want to put this up for people that aren't aware. Luann's asking, what's your DM? Now, you're asking them to message you through Facebook, correct?
Yeah, if you go to my author page, which is just Katie Mettner author, or you can do at Wisconsin Writer, and it will come up. You'll see my author page there. You can just send me a DM right
and
there.
Message through your author page.
Yep.
Because that doesn't matter if they're not on your friends list. Because if you're not on the friends list on regular Messenger, it goes into some spam folder.
And sometimes they'll tell you, but sometimes they won't. So yeah, you're better off going right to my author page, because the author page always tells me that I have a message.
That you have a message. So, okay, so I just want to put that up. So thank Luann for that. Someone was asking earlier, it caught my attention. Do you have a favorite author or someone that inspired you when you began your writing? Or
boy, I was a huge
author.
Right? How do you pick one? I guess I would have to say I was a huge reader before I was a writer, obviously. It started with Gertrude Chandler Warner with her Boxcar Children series. It was such a character-driven book that it just hooked me immediately. And I didn't care how unrealistic the rest of the stuff was, because I just wanted to make sure the characters were okay. And then as I got older, I moved into Mary Higgins Clark. And I just loved the way that
her books.
Yeah, the webs that she would weave. But I also read just a ton of Harlequin growing up. I've been reading Harlequin intrigues for 30 years. And they're fast books that, recent books that I read, but I couldn't tell you about any of the ones that I read 30 years ago. But they taught me things that I still use as I write. So yeah, it's hard to say who a favorite is, but I guess if I had to go back to who kind of shaped me, those would be the ones that I picked.
Okay. And your books, like you said, based on romance, disability. Does one pop out that was really hard to write? Emotionally, or characters?
Emotionally would be Winter's Rain. Fair warning. Okay. Difficult as far as logistically would be The Secrets Between Us, because she was a below elbow amputee, but she didn't use a prosthesis, and so that made just the logistics of her movements difficult to write. And the third one would be April Melody, because April was deaf, and so everything, you couldn't say she said, it had to be she signed. And so it was just putting yourself in that mindset of, how you're going to change this manuscript to make it realistic. So those would be the three that kind of stand out.
And with disabilities, do you do a lot of research, or do you actually talk to people with those disabilities?
I do, yeah. Well, it helped that I was a medical transcriptionist for a dozen years, so that helped.
Oh, okay.
So I have a lot of insider knowledge too. Crystal mentioned calling Cupid. I actually typed for a pediatric cardiologist for 12 years. So writing Kate Cupid having congenital heart disease was actually pretty easy for me. I didn't struggle too hard with that one. But if I do, it's like a lot of times somebody will say, can you write about this condition? And if I agree to it, I always say I absolutely will, as long as you'll be there for me to bounce questions off of. Because if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it right, or as right as I can. And so I'm going to need somebody that can read it and say, yes, yes, no, no. So even though I write disabled romance and I read as a sensitivity reader, I still have my own, because I don't have every condition, and I just, I like to make sure that I'm representing that part of the community correctly.
Mm-hmm. And is any of your characters based on anyone you know? You don't have to say who, but
Can I plead the fifth on that?
yes,
Yes,
you can.
there are, there are.
You most definitely can.
I'm not going to point out which ones, but there definitely
Right.
are.
Okay. Now, I'm still impressed by how many books you've written in, what, 10 years? 10 and a half years?
Yep,
57 books. You can write a book in a week, which just blows my mind.
It may not be a good book, but I can do it.
But still, just that you've had the bones of a book in a week.
Yeah, it's a rough draft, basically.
When you're not writing, what do you like to do that takes you away, the escape from writing or reading? Just what hobbies you have, or what do you like to do just to?
Usually, well, in the winter, obviously, because it's Wisconsin, I generally, if I'm not writing or promoting or any of the things that go along with being a writer, I crochet. Love to crochet, and actually I read while I crochet, which some people
both
think
at the same time.
Yeah, because that's what I do. I don't like.
Okay. How can you read?
Because if it's a pattern I know really well, I can just crochet. I don't even have to look at it. And if it's a pattern I don't know, then I'll watch a movie while I'm doing it, so that
You never cease to amaze me. Okay.
I love to bake. Obviously, I actually I am on a liquid diet now, so I don't eat anything, but I still love to bake, and so I bake for everybody. Doesn't matter who. And I love doing. Everybody here in my house now has to be gluten free. They'll have celiac disease, and so I had to learn how to bake from regular to gluten free, which was quite a challenge. But
I've been, a challenge.
Yeah, but I've learned how. And I enjoyed the process of learning how, and kind of how to take my favorite recipes and make them gluten free. So, of course, it's helped that over the last 10 years we're getting a lot better.
Recipes in your books?
There are some recipes in my book. There's recipes in the Christmas at Gingerbread Falls for gingerbread scones. There's some in the sugar series. So I do try to share, and I share a lot on my author page. In my newsletter, I'll share some of my favorite recipes if I've got space. So I should do that.
We did put some links up with the text for the chat. I think in there is your newsletter and where people can find you. And I think someone posted them in the comments too. I think I saw all your links in the comments too. The other thing I wanted to bring up, the hour's almost up. This is so quick. But I do want to ask real quick, going back to your books, are they clean romances, or do they have some steam?
There is steam in most of them. Not fade to black, closed door, but also not descriptive in terms of things.
Right.
Because I have one clean romance where nothing happens other than kissing until their wedding night, and then it goes fade to black. However, in it, they discuss sex because he's paralyzed in a wheelchair. And you can't just all of a sudden decide to go, hey, while you're on the bed, you better know what you're going to do so that you don't get hurt. And so I discuss sex in the book, and I had to take it out of the clean romance category because apparently you can't even discuss it.
You can't discuss it?
Apparently not, because I was getting all these bad reviews because they discuss sex in the book, and I was like, well, the dude's in a wheelchair. What,
Yeah, you gotta talk about it first.
Right. So yeah, no, I don't do that anymore. So I don't claim any of them are clean in that respect, but I do always address sex in my romance novels because of that reason. Is you cannot just pretend. I saw a book one day about a woman in a wheelchair who is into rope play. Now you do you, babe.
But whatever turns you on.
But don't make the person disabled, because that's beyond dangerous, and somebody's going to go out there and try it and get hurt. And that's what upsets me about a lot of what's written when it's not, if it's written by an abled author who doesn't use a sensitivity reader that goes, hey, whoa, you can't do that. You have problems. And you may never know that somebody did that and got hurt, but.
Yeah, and with you having a disability, you have that connection and know the risks and see deeper than what that author would.
Right. And that's so a lot. I have to be real careful when I'm on social media and I see some of that stuff not to say anything or type anything, I should say. But there's a lot of that out there. So I always try to when I do write my books, I make it funny or loving or however it has to be so that people aren't turned off by it.
Right.
Because, there's these two people discussing how they're, when he's in a wheelchair, whatever it may be. But the reality is, whether you're paralyzed, you're missing a leg, you're missing an arm, whatever it may be,
They still can have.
We're all still sexual beings,
Yeah.
so it still has to be addressed.
Exactly.
And so that's kind of, and I decided that from an early perspective of writing was that if I'm going to do this, then I've got to go all in.
Yeah.
And I always say, feel free to skip those parts if
I like the fact that, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I like the fact that you wrote your first book based upon your disability, but you continued with that.
Right.
And with all your other books.
I didn't intend to. Like I said, I was going to be my one book. But then, as people started coming to me, and it was almost like a mission that was said, if this is that needed there, that many people want to read these books, but they're not there, then I'm going to put them there. Because if I have that ability, if I have the storytelling ability to do that, then it's almost what I should be doing to help the disabled community, because, disability erasure is a real thing. Mm-hmm. And we always say disabled isn't a bad word. We are disabled, but that doesn't mean that we don't have skills and that we're not skilled people.
Or emotions.
Right. Exactly. That too, Yeah. And so that's always been my mission, is just to try to further that. Actually, what I really wanted to do was make it mainstream. And I did not realize how difficult it would be to make disabled romance mainstream. It's taken me 10 years, but finally 10 years, I have got, like I said, I've got the book coming out with Harlequin Intrigue, where the main character has a disability, and it's written by an own voices author, not just.
Can you suggest the category to Amazon?
We've tried. We did that, Carrie and I, with a previous publisher of mine, Breaking Night Press. But it's not Amazon. We found out, we were blaming Amazon this whole time. It wasn't Amazon. It was the head BISAC category people. They're the ones that get to decide what categories get to be added.
And there's not a lot of choices in there.
No. And now we finally have one for disability and special needs, I believe, is it? And it's not specific. It's not specific to romance.
Is it under fiction or nonfiction?
It's under fiction. It's the first one under fiction. So believe me, I grab it every single time.
Yeah, good job.
But we're still working on we're supposed to be getting a romance one, but it was supposed to be 2022. Haven't seen it. So now I'm keeping my fingers crossed for 2023.
Send them a reminder.
Right.
Send them a reminder.
Like me and BookBub, when I send BookBub a book every 3 days.
There you go.
Just a reminder that I still exist.
Well, this has been such a joy and also enlightening. Because of the subject matter of your books, I have high respect for the awareness you're bringing.
Thank you.
I really do. We do have to wrap it up, unfortunately, but there's a few things I want to talk about first. First of all, I have one final question for you. Yes. Because you've written so many books, 57, I keep having to say that, so I believe it. Aspiring writers, what advice would you give to them that want to reach your success?
Write every day. That's what I tell people. Just write every day. I don't care if you write 2 sentences on your phone. I don't care if you write on a napkin at the bar. Write every day, because even if it isn't specifically to a story that you're writing, or maybe it's just a funny little poem that you think of, write it. Every little bit of writing you do improves your writing ability.
Okay. And since you published your first book, accidentally, I still get a kick out of that one. What would you have done differently that you've learned over the years with your first earlier books, other than printing it accidentally?
Yeah, other than that. Actually, I wouldn't change anything. And that sounds dumb. But honestly, it comes down to the idea that if I hadn't done it that way, I wouldn't have met so many people that I met. I probably would never have met Carrie Butler, because my covers were terrible. I mean,
you're beautiful now. Carrie Butler.
Exactly. You see what I'm saying? So if I walk back any step that I made, I changed a step that I benefited from.
Okay. And you learned from it and grew.
Right, exactly. And
Yeah.
so I don't look at it as a mistake. It was just a learning,
A learning curve.
it
That
was
makes a lot of sense.
a very fast dip into the learning pool. But I was lucky that when I did it naively in 2011, basically indies were at the highlight of their life and you didn't even have to try hard to sell a book. And I think that's what helped me in those early days, was that you didn't have to go through all the Amazon ads and all this stuff. I mean, they just went up and people were able to buy your book, and the visibility was there that we don't necessarily have as much of now. So that helped a lot to kind of, that springboard into what I was writing.
Great advice. Okay, so we unfortunately do have to wrap this up, but we have a couple of giveaways.
Yes.
I want to thank you for your generosity. If you want to just let the readers know what you'll be giving away.
I'm going to give a signed copy of Blazing Hot Nights to one winner.
Wonderful. And that's paperback edition, Blazing Hot Nights.
Yep.
And then I'm also doing my regular giveaway, which will be the $5 Amazon gift card. And what you need to do is go to my author page and share this video. You can share it anywhere you want, in your groups, on your homepage. Tag me so I know that you have shared it. And for those that do share it, you're in the drawing for a $5 Amazon gift card. And we'll get the word out there about Katie's books.
Perfect. And don't forget to come to the party tomorrow on my author page.
June 4th. And it's my husband's birthday tomorrow, too.
Mine, too. We're birthday buddies.
Your husband's birthday? Oh, your birthday.
My birthday. Yeah.
It's your birthday tomorrow. And my husband's, too, June 14th. So happy birthday tomorrow.
Thank you. My husband's birthday is the 15th of June. So we have a whole birthday week that week.
And there's my son's third-year wedding anniversary on the 15th. All these celebrations going.
We're doing all the celebrating. Yes. So you don't want to miss that party. There's 22 books being given away, I believe. I think, or 23 actually, because I just had a last-minute entry. I think we're up to 23 now. Don't want to miss it. It's going to be a lot of fun.
I'll be sure to pop in, and that is on Katie Mettner's author page. That's where the party will be tomorrow, so be sure to pop on over there. Real quick, Katie, if you have time, I know you're a busy woman, but I'm sure there's questions that we have missed. If you want to just scour the comments in my group and on the author page.
Sure, absolutely. I'll try to catch them all.
Yeah, try and answer some questions, and we can discuss after live how we want to pick the winners, but we'll do it tonight.
Okay, sounds good.
Everyone, let me hand it over to you, but I want to say thank you, everyone, for being here. And Katie, it's been a joy to talk to you, and I'll let you have the last few words for the readers.
Okay, thank you all for being here tonight. I appreciate stopping in to watch our live here. I'm not trying to beg for follows, but if you like my author page, that'll help you get the notifications for the party tomorrow. I do a lot of lives, and actually I have a surprise kind of deal that's going to be set up with StreamYard with another author, and we're going to be doing some talks about writing prompts, writing ways that we write in different genres, and between the two of us. So you're going to want to be there for that. So definitely follow the page so that you'll get notifications on that. And just come by. We have fun on my page every single day. We're doing something. Today we're talking about coffee and tea. Tomorrow we're having book parties. I don't know what we're doing Wednesday, but we'll be doing something that day too. So definitely be by. We have a lot of fun there.
Perfect. Thank you so much, everybody. Yep. And thank you again, Katie.
Yes, thank you.
Good night, everyone.